So, this week track started, and I know, you guys are probably wondering why I'm talking about track, because that has nothing to do with music. And this is a music review show after all, but just wait, this will make sense, okay? So with track starting, I've been feeling kind of anxious. And basically like every time I think about running or workouts or even just the actual physical track, I find myself breaking out into a sweat. But, I thought that the best thing to do to calm myself down was to listen to some music. And I chose an album, which happened to be titled The Anxiety, and that has nothing to do with this intro at all. But I listened to it, and let me tell you, that was a partial mistake. Did not cure my anxiety. But anyways, I'm Thibault Drake, this is a pencil, and you're watching Album of the Week. God, that was horrible. That was actually garbage. Welcome to Album of the Week, the show where I listen to albums suggested by you. I still have my pencil. Welcome to Album of the Week, the show where I listen to albums suggested by you and rate and review them. This week's album, suggested by someone who I don't remember, is The Anxiety, released by WILLOW and Tyler Cole on March 13th, 2020. It features 10 tracks, one of which, Meet Me at Our Spot, was released as a single after it became popular on TikTok in 2021. So this album is strange. It is cut into two parts almost. The beginning is super punk rock, and I think it's the weaker part of the album. And then there's like a nice transition, and it goes into a more R&B kind of. I think that the second half is much better. The first half could get rid of it, and the album would be good. It'd be better probably, I think. The first track is called Hey You, and I don't know how to feel about it. It starts out fine, and then the actual singing comes in, like the main lyrics, and it's not good. It's the Willow is singing with way too much distortion on her voice. You can barely understand. It's like listening to I can't even describe it. You just have to listen to it for yourself to truly understand how strange and uncomfortable it is almost. It's not fun. I will say the instrumentals are not terrible, but they're completely just overshadowed by the vocals, and it's pretty terrible. I think that Willow's is not as bad as Tyler Cole. I think Willow is a little bit better at singing this kind of like punk rock kind of genre, but it's not a great song. The next track, Fight Club, is a little better, but not by much. It's got some truly awful parts of it. I think that it's just the screaming, super like over distorted vocals, and I think that Willow over sings it a little bit. Like she almost adds too much, not emotion, I guess. Like she gives to it too much melody. That's the right word I'm looking for. And I think that Tyler Cole also has like a solo part in this where his voice just doesn't work in the like way he's trying to sing it, I guess. I don't know. It just doesn't mix well. I think this song portrays anger pretty well, but I think if the voices weren't as distorted, I think it would be a lot better. And I think that goes with most of these like punk rock songs. I think if they just kept their natural voices instead of adding so much distortion and just screamed instead, which I get is pretty hard, but I mean, if you're singing this kind of music, you kind of have to expect that. But I think that overall it's not like garbage, but it's definitely not good. The next track, Believe That, is definitely better than the other ones. It's way better. The distortion is kind of, it's toned down a bit. There's still some distortion there, but this one really only features Willow singing the main vocals. There's some backing vocals done by Tyler, but I think that even just that makes it better, because I really think that Willow has some good talent for this kind of stuff. Like, it's not, of course, she's not the best at singing this, but I think that it's definitely better than Tyler. But this one is, the lyrics are very important on this album. Contrary to the last one I did, which was The Strokes, Is This It? I think the lyrics pop out a lot on this one, and this, especially this song. This song, I believe, is about growing up in America as a black person and just trying to like deal with like police violence and just trying to find hope in bleak situations. It's very powerful, and I think that Willow is good at portraying emotion through her singing. The next track, Poolside, which is the fourth one, is I think actually one of the better ones on the album. It's definitely an earworm. Once you listen to it for the first time, it's gonna be stuck in your head like for weeks and weeks, and it's a little annoying, but it's a catchy song, and that's usually a good sign. It's about kind of just being fed up with people just not really wanting to notice or just not being able to understand or choosing not to understand kind of problems facing our world, which I think is a pretty cool message. It's a good message, not like a cool message. You know what I mean? But I think there's a really cool part in this song actually, right before the like outro kind of chorus, where they use the sound of an actual wave, and they use that in the song. I think it's a pretty cool way to transition into like the final kind of more mellow chorus and then they bring out the song with just an instrumental outro for like 30 seconds, which is pretty cool, and it feels better produced and the mixing is better, and I think that Tyler really shines in this one. I think that he has a verse where I think it's really good, and I think that it's more his style of singing, and his voice fits it better than in the other previous songs. Yeah, so that was Poolside. I would recommend listening to this one. It's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it. So track number 5, which is just simply called Interlude, has no lyrics. It's simple, it's short, it's really beautiful, and it's kind of hard to describe just because there's nothing really to talk about. You kind of just have to listen to it to understand it. I think that this one actually works better. This track, Entertain, works better with the interlude because it's almost a continuation. It uses a lot of the same chords on the piano. It's very simple. There's nothing really, just some synth and then the piano chords just kind of being played. And then this is a really beautiful song. I think that this is where Willow and Tyler both really shine, and it's about mourning the loss of a relationship and just thinking of moments and just time that you spent in that relationship. And it's well written. There's some pretty cool lyrics in here. It's a great chorus, and I think that there's also some cool harmonies in the actual voices between Willow and Tyler. And I think this is a pretty strong song. This is also one of the best songs on the album. I think it's really beautiful, and I think this is another one that's worth giving it a listen. The next track, Are You Afraid, is kind of generic. I think there's nothing really special about this one. I have one little nitpicky thing, and it starts off the song I'll just read you out the lyrics. So it goes, I've been waiting for this day. Do you feel the same way? And then, will you walk towards me? But the me is said may. And are you afraid? But the D is dropped, so it's just afraid. But the way Tyler sings it just kind of sounds weird. And it kind of just doesn't sound very nice to the ear. It's just a little weird. I think that besides that, the actual song is pretty good. There's not too much that's special about it. It's kind of just slow and some simple drums and some just guitar fills. Nothing really special, but it's not a bad song. So this next track, Meet Me at a Spot, is the famous one from this album. It's by far the one with the most plays on Spotify, at least from what I've seen. And this is the one that was also on TikTok. It's the only single from the album. And I can see why this is such a popular song, because it's got a great chorus. It's catchy, it's fast, it's got great rhythm, and it's overall a great song. The song actually is kind of dark almost. It's talking about insomnia that comes from crippling anxiety when you're alone. It's just juxtaposed with the kind of upbeat nature of the chorus, which I think almost represents what it's like, because the chorus is kind of saying this is what I'm like when I'm with you, but then when I'm by myself, which is the verses. Yeah, this is a good song. This is where I think Willow and Tyler both really shine, is when they are mostly just singing with less instrumentals or effects. I think they both have very nice voices. I think that this song lets it kind of shine through. So the 9th song on this album is The System, which is, again, the last song, really focused more on the vocals. This one is about kind of, of course, going against the system and not don't conform, kind of rebel. And I think that's a cool message. It again juxtaposes with the actual way that the song is sung, because it's very mellow and very just kind of, you could probably listen to it for hours and not even realize it, because it's great. It's got some like ambient background, just guitar and drums, and I think there's some pretty cool stuff with the drum machine in this one. And I think that this one is actually a lot better if you listen to it with headphones, because when I was listening to it with headphones, I heard there's a lot of like some noises kind of droning on in the background from a synth, and I think those don't really come through unless you listen through really high quality speakers or just some decent headphones. Again, it shows how well Willow is. I think she's just a great singer. I think she's a great artist, and I have a lot of respect for her. The last track on this album is After You Cry. It's number 10. I think that this one is really cool. It has a crescendo towards the end where the drums and guitar kind of come in aggressively, and the distortion is there in the voices, but it's not as bad as before. And it's like combining the beginning and the end of the album, except of course the beginning is slightly better in this. Well, no, it's miles better, but I think this is a good closing song. It's, again, really like the last two tracks, really mellow, and you could probably fall asleep to this, and it's something you don't really realize you listen to, but it's a great ending. Overall, I think this wasn't a terrible album, but the beginning really threw me off, and I don't know, I think it sucks that that's what happened, because I think that they have some really good talent. I would love to see them do more stuff, but I don't think they've released anything else besides this. It had some cool instrumentals in the punk songs. The vocals just weren't really there, and in the second half, I think that both were pretty good, even though there were less instrumentals. I think they were well done. I think that Interlude was a really cool transition, because some of the motifs from that actually carried on into the next song. I think that was pretty cool. I think that the best song on this album is actually not Meet Me at Her Spot, even though that is the most popular. I think the best one is Poolside, and then I would say Meet Me at Her Spot, and then probably ranking the other last few ones somewhere in there, and then definitely the first two are at the very bottom. I feel horrible giving this album a low rating, not a low, but like a lower rating, because the ending is just, it's a solid album, but at the end, but I think that the beginning just takes away from it. So I think what I'm going to do is, since the album is 10 songs, the way I'm going to rate it is I'm just going to take all the good songs and the bad songs and subtract the bad songs from the number, and then that's what I'm going to rate it. I think 70 is the rating that this album gets, which isn't that low. I think that it definitely redeemed itself in the end, and I think I would recommend listening to the songs. I just would skip the first three, because it's just horrible and it's painful to listen to. But yeah, so I think I would listen to some of the songs on this again, and I do recommend that you do as well, because it's always good to support artists, because music is great. And so if you do have any albums that you would like me to review, make sure to email those to thibault.drake@gprep.com, and I will check them out, and if I do pick them, I will give you a shout out in that video as well. And also make sure to check out all the other awesome content on bookupbroadcasting.com. And I'm gonna go to bed now, because it's really late and I'm in my mom's room, and I'm sure she doesn't appreciate me filming because she wants to go to sleep. But anyways, I will see you next week. Welcome to Album of the Week, the show where I listen to albums